What's up, Taiwan? I'm Yvonne Yang with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Authorities in Taiwan are calling out China's latest move to target a ruling party lawmaker. And as Alan Liu reports, even though China does not have legal authority in Taiwan, the pressure taxes could have an impact.
Taiwan's ruling Democratic Progressive Party is blasting China for targeting one of the party's lawmakers with a criminal investigation.
先透过司法的威吓，让他锁定的个人或团体心生恐惧，这跟他们在香港所做的如出一辙。
The condemnation comes after local authorities in China announced a case against DPP lawmaker Puma Shen, who is viewed by China as a separatist who, quote, divides the country. Chinese state media Xinhua published an article justifying the move, calling it fully supported by facts and grounded in law. But the probe has been rejected by Taiwan's government agency that handles cross-strait matters.
事实上，中共的管辖权不及台湾，台湾的国民也不受到任何的拘束。
That said, China's pressure tactics could get help from collaborators within Taiwan, and the government is watching out for this.
那我们也会跟相关的警政单位在境内的时候要来注意，也要避免到有在地协力者。
And there are also concerns that the case could make it dangerous for Shen to travel to countries with close ties to China.
因为中共它跟一些比较友好的友中亲中的国家，那它可能有它的一些引渡的一个措施。那这部分我也会建议那个破马委员这边可能也要稍微注意一下。
China has long warned against what it calls die-hard Taiwan independence activists. But this is the first time it has formally opened a criminal case against one of Taiwan's lawmakers. As Beijing doubles down on its pressure tactics, DPP lawmakers are calling for unity among Taiwan's political parties against the threats, saying their legislators could be next. Alex Chan, Heng Shi, and Alan Liu for TaiwanPlus.
U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick has announced almost $500 billion in investment commitments by Japan. Lutnick made the announcement in Tokyo on Tuesday, following U.S. President Donald Trump's meeting with newly elected Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi Sanae. The investment would include $100 billion each for nuclear power projects involving U.S. companies Westinghouse and GE Vernova. Other investments would focus on energy infrastructure and cars. Taiwan's foreign ministry has thanked the U.S. and Japan for their support for security in the Taiwan Strait. It follows U.S. President Donald Trump's and Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi Sanae's meeting in Tokyo, where both leaders said they opposed the use of force to change the status quo in the Taiwan Strait. They also discussed long-standing U.S.-Japan defense ties and economic security. Takaichi previously stressed the importance of regional peace and stability at this year's ASEAN summit. Taiwan's premier says Taipei will pursue compensation for delayed U.S. fighter jet deliveries.
我们当然希望能够如期的交货，但是已经延了。那这个延的过程的责任，美方的制造公司，我们必须要对他提出法律的动作、法律的追偿。
Premier Zhuo Rongtai was responding to Kuomintang legislator Xu Qiaoxing, who raised concerns over the sale of 66 U.S. F-16V fighter jets. Originally said to be delivered between 2023 and 2026, the jets are the biggest part of the military purchases, of which the U.S. still owes Taiwan over $21 billion in hardware. Premier Zhuo says none of the jets have been delivered, but that the government will take legal action against the manufacturer. Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang has announced several new U.S. tech projects and partnerships, including some with the government.
Today, we're announcing that the Department of Energy is partnering with Nvidia to build 7 new AI supercomputers to advance our nation's science.
The announcements were made at the company's semi-annual conference, which was held in Washington, D.C. for the first time. The location is seen as an appeal to Congress and the Trump administration, as the company seeks to play a leading role in building U.S. AI infrastructure and to lift sales restrictions of its chips to China. Huang is scheduled to meet with the U.S. president in South Korea later on Wednesday ahead of the APEC summit. Huang also says he'll meet South Korean President Lee Jae-myung, and he will announce new partnerships with Samsung and Hyundai later this week. Taiwan's government watchdog, the Control Yuan, has launched an investigation into alleged forced labor in the country's textile industry. The move follows a report by U.S. NGO Transparentum published in February. It said that Taiwanese manufacturers for well-known brands like Nike and Adidas engaged in illegal human rights abuses against migrant workers. This includes collecting unlawful recruitment fees, arbitrary wage deductions, and workplace intimidation. Officials have vowed to crack down on offenders if the allegations are true. Many of our everyday items, things like phones and laptops, cause problems when not discarded properly and waste billions of dollars in critical minerals. Now, one plant in the UK hopes AI can provide an answer. Aichi reports.
Useful in our daily lives, but dangerous when improperly discarded. Batteries like these pose a threat to recycling plants and their workers. That's why some plants, like this one in southeastern England, are using AI to detect batteries before they are crushed and can spot fires.
But the portable tech is primarily powered by lithium-ion batteries, which again is a wonderful piece of technology. But if the wrong thing happens to it when it's no longer wanted, and that's if it goes into a bin, it gets crushed, it comes into contact with air and water, they can set on fire.
By mounting a camera over a conveyor belt, the firm uses AI vision technology to spot batteries among all the waste and uses a blast of air to remove them, preventing issues down the line.
So we're using a camera system mounted above a belt, and that is connected to a computer that is running an AI machine learning system that is scanning those images and looking for batteries and hazardous objects that we've trained the AI algorithm to detect.
The same tech does more than prevent fires. By identifying and isolating the batteries, it turns them into a valuable resource. After all, they contain lithium, cobalt, gold, palladium, and rare earths, precious materials now central to geopolitics, and they are lost if not recycled properly.
Geopolitics is at play here. So, inside electronics are precious metals, materials like lithium, cobalt, technology metals. And we've got them here in the urban mines surrounding us. And at the moment, we're throwing too many of them away, which is crazy. Why this new sort of technology and innovation to recover more materials is just simply common sense. It'll drive the economy and it'll protect the environment.
In the UK alone, an estimated $1.3 billion in precious and critical metals is lost each year due to inefficient recycling. Investing in tech like this could help recover these materials, reduce reliance on imports, and protect workers, all while ensuring the UK has access to the resources it needs for its most essential products. Howard Chan and Aichi for TaiwanPlus.
U.S. President Donald Trump is in South Korea for this year's APEC forum. All eyes are on him ahead of a meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping, one that could touch on Taiwan. But it is not all Trump and Xi. Host South Korea has a lot of work to do to make the forum a success amid geopolitical tensions and a new missile launch from North Korea. John Van Trieste reports.
U.S. President Donald Trump arrives in South Korea, the final stop on his Asia trip. It may also be the most momentous stop, as in just a day, he'll be meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping ahead of the APEC summit, at a moment of heightened tension between the two powers. Even up to the last minute, trade friction has been building, with the U.S. putting new bans on Chinese telecom gear Tuesday. But Trump says he looks forward to speaking with Xi.
President Xi of China is coming tomorrow here. And we're going to be, I hope, making a deal. I think we're going to have a deal. I think it'll be a good deal for both. And that's really a great result. That's better than fighting and going through all sorts of problems and, no reason for it. I think it's going to be a great deal for both. So I'll be meeting him.
It's not just trade that may be on the agenda. Geopolitics, too, could come out. One question on the minds of journalists traveling with Trump is whether Taiwan will come up in his meeting with Xi. China claims Taiwan has vowed to use force to take it if necessary and would like the U.S. to openly oppose its independence. Earlier on Air Force One, Trump told reporters he's not sure.
I don't know that we'll even speak about Taiwan. I'm not sure. I mean, he may want to ask about it. There's not that much to ask about it. Taiwan is Taiwan. But the beautiful part about Taiwan, frankly, and they understand it, is we're bringing a lot of those chip makers into the United States. If you look at the #1 chip maker in the world, they're building a massive factory in Arizona.
Taiwan's National Security Bureau, though, does foresee Taiwan on the agenda, saying Trump previously said he would talk about Taiwan with Xi. Though Taiwan's own APEC delegation won't have any input in what Trump says, the Bureau thinks the U.S. won't change its policies to please Beijing.
会不会有一些涉及台湾的议题？那看起来是会的哦，因为川普总统对外说明是说会触及到台湾的议题。那不过这个部分应该委员也有注意到，那个 Rubio 那个国务卿也有提到哦，美方不会以台湾议题来换取中共的贸易优惠的待遇。那这是他的官方宣示。那而且另外我们来判断，假如说台湾议题真的是列为川习会的议题的话，那美方的幕僚应该会有一些相关的作业哦，针对美国对台政策的立场应该会有一些表述。
The stakes are high for host South Korea, too. With U.S. tariffs shaking up world trade and geopolitical tensions brewing in Seoul's own backyard, South Korean President Lee Jae-myung is appealing to APEC's importance as a multilateral forum.
In an era where protectionism and prioritization of national interests are on the rise, making immediate survival seem urgent, words like cooperation, mutual prosperity, and inclusive growth may sound hollow. Yet, paradoxically, it is in times of crisis like these that the role of APEC as a platform for solidarity shines even brighter.
But Seoul will have to pull off a delicate dance to make a success of this summit.
Given the deepening U.S.-China rivalry, Beijing sees strengthening cooperation and improving ties with South Korea and Japan as essential to advancing its diplomatic interests. So at this APEC summit, alongside the U.S.-China leaders meeting, China is likely to focus on managing its relations with both Seoul and Tokyo. If South Korea, as the chairing nation, can effectively navigate and balance its relations with the United States, Japan, and China, it may play a key role in preventing the further polarization of regional blocs around the Korean Peninsula.
On top of all this, North Korea has chosen today to test-fire cruise missiles, a reminder that the U.S. and China aren't the only geopolitical challenges in the region. It will be a tricky several days before the summit draws to a close on November 1st. Fu Huaheng and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
The Penghu Islands off Taiwan's west coast are home to many fish weirs, stone enclosures in the sea that bring in fish with each tide. But with modern industrial fishing and the island's shrinking population, many of them have fallen into disuse and disrepair. Now, a group of young islanders is relearning the art of fixing them up. Eric Gao has the story.
Here in the Penghu Islands, in the middle of the Taiwan Strait, there's a long tradition of carefully stacking heavy stones like these in the sea to form fish traps. Called stone weirs, the tides carry fish into them, ready for the islanders to catch. They're tough to build, but good at what they do, taking the hassle out of getting fish from the sea.
好重，但是也是蛮聪明的。他们都是利用那个涨潮的时候，把很多那个大石头都搬起来了。
But while they're an important part of the island's culture, and some even attract tourists, many have been left to fall apart as modern fishing fleets make them obsolete, and young people leave Penghu for school and work on the main island of Taiwan. But there's a group of young people here in Penghu who have decided to turn this trend around with their own hands. They've set up a training program that teaches people how to maintain these stone enclosures, a cultural preservation project.
它只要一直办下去，这个人力就会一直流动。我很想要看到那个愿景实现的那个阶段，可是它必须要用很长的时间跟不同的方式方法，还有资源的引注去行动。
It's a tough battle keeping all the island's many weirs in shape, but this group of locals are determined to keep the knowledge of how to do it alive. Devin Tsai, John Van Trieste, and Eric Gao for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Finally, we leave you with highlights from an 800-kilometer 7-day gravel back race in South Africa. I'm Yvonne Young. Take care, and I'll see you next time.